Hey everyone, Pastor Jacob here with another book review. As many of you know, I've always had a deep love for Civil War history. So I recently finished reading Gods and Generals by Jeff Shaara. And it's the prequel to The Killer Angels, the Pulitzer-winning novel written by his father, Michael Shaara. And what's remarkable is that Gods and Generals was Jeff's first novel. He steps into his father's legacy to tell the story of the war's early years, which was really a bold and daunting task. And while the book has some strengths worth noting, I'm going to give this book a 6.5 out of 10. Now, at its core, Gods and Generals is a character study. Shaara zooms in on four central figures for us. We have Robert E. Lee, Thomas Stonewall Jackson, Winfield Scott Hancock, and Joshua Chamberlain. And rather than just focusing solely on battles, Shaara gives us a window into their thoughts and their doubts and convictions as the nation falls into a civil war. As a pastor, I was especially drawn to Jackson and Lee. Jackson is shown as a man of deep faith. He's disciplined, he's prayerful, he's convinced that he is fulfilling God's will. And Lee, meanwhile, is torn. His decision to side with Virginia over the Union is portrayed with a lot of weight and sorrow, and you can feel that internal conflict in him, his sense of duty and the emotional toll that comes with it. And what really surprised me most about this book was just how much I found myself connecting with them. I never expected to relate to Confederate generals, especially knowing that the Confederacy's foundation was built on the preservation of slavery. But in their private wrestlings and desire to lead with integrity, I was able to see glimpses of traits I strive for in my own life and ministry. And then while reading the book, I found out something that made this book even a little more personal. I discovered that I have ancestors from the Shenandoah Valley who fought under Jackson, and others from Indiana who served in the Army of the Potomac in the Union Army. And that discovery really hit me hard, because suddenly this book wasn't just history, but this book now was my history, and my family stood on both sides of this conflict. Some likely admired Jackson's leadership firsthand, and others may have fought under generals like Hancock, and that realization made the emotional weight of the story more real, and also at the same time, just far more complicated. Now back to the book itself. The biggest weakness, without question, for this book is the pacing. Gods and Generals, it is a slow read, and you can tell that this is Jeff Shaara's first novel. The first half of this book drags with a lot of introspection. There's political buildup taking place. There's a lot of lengthy dialogue, and while the character development is thoughtful, the story often lacks urgency, and even the major battles, right, Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, they don't fully land with the emotional impact that I thought that they should have. I just kept waiting for the narrative to take off, and it just never did. Now, if you enjoy deep character studies and you don't mind a slow burn, you might enjoy Gods and Generals, but if you're looking for momentum and action, this book is probably going to feel like a slog. So again, overall, I'm going to give Gods and Generals a 6.5 out of 10. It's well researched, it's reflective, and it's rich with historical depth. And again, it challenged me to see familiar figures through a more personal lens. And learning that my own ancestors lived and fought on both sides only deepened that experience for me. But it's not a book I'd recommend lightly. This book requires patience, and it doesn't carry the same emotional power or pacing that made The Killer Angels such a remarkable read. So if you enjoy history, if you enjoy the Civil War, I would encourage you to check this book out. I will be keeping this book. We'll probably give it a reread here in a couple of years, but if you are not into history or the Civil War, I probably would not recommend Gods and Generals. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.